Welcome to Motivational Monday. This is Fed Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. Today, I'd like to discuss this one skill that people hate, and it's really hard to overcome because you kind of say to yourself, I paid that real estate already, I don't have to pay it again, but you do. But before we start, make sure to smash the like button, share, and do subscribe, all right? So the word I'm looking at is review. Now, how many of you like to restudy something you've already studied? Most of us don't, because referring back to something that we've, forgotten about or, doesn't seem as relevant anymore, and then we re-enter that particular thought or that particular wisdom, and we look at it in a completely different light, and we say, wait, this was amazing. So many a time, okay, just like we watch a movie and then we forget about it and we want to check in. I mean, you know what the outcome is going to be, so why did you watch it again? So because we want to anticipate, right, the consistency of expectancy and knowing what it's going to turn out, but at the same time, we want to think that we've forgotten enough about it that it'll kind of, hit that dopamine level a little bit for us to be reinvigorated with that particular movie. So it's very alike when we're studying new concepts and new themes in life. Sometimes you got to go over it. Many a times, it's a very good practice. Now, I've been reading a specific book for over the past 5 years. It's the same book, and I keep on reading it every single day. And you kind of say to yourself, why do you do that? Well, it's because that particular skill doesn't come natural to me. And the only way I know how to integrate these thoughts is to reread the book and reread it and reread it and reread it until it becomes second nature to myself. And every time I read it, I add something that happened to that particular week or that happened, the last time that I looked at it, and I say, oh yeah, I remember that particular situation. I reflect back on it. But it's an amazing exercise to do because you could really two things. Number one, you're reviewing concepts that you know already, but when you're in the field and when you have strategy, those are two separate places, right? When a commander or a general kind of, looks at the field and he says, okay, we could go this way, we could go that way. And then when you get to the field and you're actually in combat, completely things change because the circumstances change. And you want to see how big of a change it was from what you strategized to what happened in the field, and how much the other team or the other opponent kind of threw you off. And you want to know exactly what you did wrong. And many a time I really feel that reviewing and going over certain concepts, because we are humans and it's very hard for us to break our nature. I was just explaining to somebody the other day that rearranging our kitchen, and I moved the garbage bin from one area of the kitchen to the other area of the kitchen. Now, we've been living in this particular house for over 15 years, and it's been in this spot. And I'm still catching myself going to the old spot. It's already about 3 months since we've, made the rearrangements in the kitchen. I still see myself going back to the old spot. And I said something to somebody where I kind of mentioned, like, it'd be really interesting, what's that point that I'm going to remember naturally that it's in a new spot, right? It's taken 15 years of me being in that scenario, okay, that I'm just reacting to it. Then how long is it going to take? It's going to take 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, maybe even a year for me to instinctively, reposition myself that the garbage bin is no longer in this side of the kitchen, but this side of the kitchen. I know it's just subtle, but these are really important points. And some of the things that I do is some of the daily rituals that I go through of listening to certain people in the morning or going through my daily ritual, I have that review every single day. So I keep myself focused on what I'm looking to accomplish. Now, there are my general goals and my specific goals. However, going into my general goals, then I could, go down to my specific goals only if I'm revisiting them several times a day so that I stay focused in that particular area that I'm looking to grow in. And I think that that's really an important element. And I think also that because we always need that new hit, that new song, that new something, that we kind of don't allow ourselves to review things because we say, oh, we've done it already, but it hasn't ever gotten integrated. And I think that that's really an important element. And it could go in anything that you're doing in life. It could be about relationships, it could be about trading the financial markets, where you have to review certain strategies and kind of like say, oh, I made that mistake once and I made it again, and now I'm like reflecting why I made it again, even though I know that it was the wrong thing to do. And those are the type of scenarios where you really grow in life, because you make a mistake once, you make a mistake twice, you make a mistake 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, but you reflect again of why you made them, and you're able to make these subtle changes so that you don't make these mistakes again, and you don't repeat them, and they become second nature to you until they're finally engraved in you. Believe it or not, I still make mistakes today in trading that I did when I was first starting out. Obviously, they're just more vibrated because they are on a much bigger level. Like, back then, if I lost $20, today I'll lose, $2,000, which is much more painful, obviously, but it's also relative to how much I've come through and how much I'm willing to take in order to make, X amount. So these are all very important lessons that we need to incorporate in our life. We should go and just spend an X amount of time. And I do this usually at the end of the year, where I review some of the things that I learned this past year, some of the growth, and I reflect back to it. And it's a sense of also taking inventory, which is a previous video that I once did of, kind of reflecting about where you're at and, what were your goals and how far away you are where you're at from where your goals are. Are you closer? Have you done any headway in it? Which areas do you still need to make some headway in it? And it's really an important lesson in life. And, I think everybody could really reflect this on their own level. And this is why it's such a simple concept. But again, to do successful things is not necessarily about doing hard things, but about doing simple things. Not necessarily easy, but definitely doing simple things. Thank you for joining us for this Motivational Monday. We'll see you here next week.